Hi, I'm Lizzie and this is Laura, and we are currently sailing on board P&O's Iona on a 7-day Northern Europe itinerary. Today is day 5 and we are in Rotterdam. You will see us exploring Rotterdam and enjoying the entertainment on board Iona.
If you don't want to miss everything that we get up to on board this cruise and our future cruises, please make sure you're subscribed to our channel.
This morning we docked in Rotterdam at about 7 a.m. and shortly after that the captain made an announcement to say that people could get off the ship if they wanted to. Again, this woke us up because we weren't intending on being up this early. And then at around 8 a.m. the officer of the watch made an announcement to say that Iona was fueling and that the open decks on the starboard side were now shut.
We decided to head up for breakfast in the Horizon buffet this morning, so we got ourselves up and ready and headed on up there. It was pretty busy in the Horizon buffet when we arrived, but luckily our mum and dad were already in the Horizon buffet, so we managed to jump onto the end of their table and sit with them to enjoy our breakfast. I made myself a bit of a sort of sausage sandwich with a roll and some sausages, and then had a croissant for my breakfast this morning.
And then I just had some beans on toast again, but decided to try the white pudding out. We then popped back up to our cabin to grab our coat as we were meeting everyone in the Keel and Cow. We just had a soft drink and some of the family had a coffee before we headed off the ship.
Disembarking Iona this morning was very, very easy. We headed straight down to deck 6 and were able to walk straight off onto the air bridge. There were no queues to speak of in the terminal building. We were just able to get our cards scanned as we left the ship and walk straight through and out the other side. As we walked through the terminal building, we did notice that there were some Valentine's Day decorations still left up. We remarked that every time we come to Rotterdam, there seems to be some kind of decoration in there. So they definitely do love decorating the building.
We have visited Rotterdam quite a few times on various cruises, but some of our family hadn't, so we were keen to show them some of the sights. As we got off the ship, we walked across the Erasmus Bridge, where you get great views of the ship from. It's always a great place to stop to get a photograph. We also noticed that again it was very bitterly cold today, and we were glad that we were wrapped up warm, even though I was a little bit disappointed that I'd left my hat on board.
As we got to the end of the Erasmus Bridge, we took a right turn and walked alongside the river. We just thought this is a little bit more of a scenic route to get into the city, and you basically do a straight walk up to a point where you make a left turn and cut back in to the city buildings.
When you turn left into like the main type of square area, you will then see the cube houses. We have visited the cube houses previously, but knew they would be too difficult for some of our relatives to be able to climb up and down the stairs as they're quite steep. But if you are very able-bodied, we highly recommend them.
We then continued on through to the market hall. We were really surprised actually at how quiet this area seemed. Every other time we've been to Rotterdam, it has been absolutely buzzing in and around here. Even during sort of COVID times when we visited, it was still very, very busy around here. And at the very entrance to the market hall, there was a nougat cellar, which our cousin Nikki managed to get herself a very large amount of nougat that nearly cost her €48 until she realised how much it was going to be and she asked him to half it.
A few other bits and bobs were bought in the market hall, such as a stroopwafel and some other chocolates, etc. in there. And then we left the market hall and walked towards the area where St Lawrence's Church is. We were actually planning on visiting the church, but when we went in and found out that it was €4 for each person, it would turn out to be quite expensive for all 8 of us to go in. However, we enjoyed looking at the outside of the building.
We were all a little bit peckish by this point, so we turned down one of the side streets and came upon a couple of little cafes. The one we decided to go into was called Savour and Nosh, and actually it wasn't little at all inside. It was massive. The decor was really, really fun in there. We were seated on 2 tables for 4 that were right next to each other, and we just chose to order some sort of small snacking plates that we shared.
We all enjoyed what we ate in there. We just ordered some garlic bread and some fries, and then some spring rolls, some meatballs and some quesadillas. and all of it was very tasty. It was all really fresh and well cooked. We would highly recommend a visit to there if you're ever in Rotterdam.
We then continued on to the sort of main shopping area and had a little look around some of the shops. Our relatives were particularly excited by the C&A and insisted we had a good look around there. There was also some nice sort of smaller, more quirky shops as well that people enjoyed visiting. So we did have a good mooch about.
We had walked around in a loop and knew that we were on our way back towards the Erasmus Bridge. So we decided it's probably time for us to head back to the ship now. One of our aunts, Denise, and our cousin Nikki decided they were going to get the train into Amsterdam for the night. While we were walking across the bridge, I was very excited because I found a duck and it was somebody had left it there off the ship. So that's the first time I've ever found a cruising duck not on a ship.
Nikki and Denise had no trouble at all getting the train into Amsterdam. We were pretty close to the central train station where we'd walk to anyway, and they said it was super easy to find the correct train. The staff in the train station were really helpful also, and it was a quick train service. The train ticket into Amsterdam cost them €39 return.
Getting back onto the ship was easy. The staff in the terminal building were very friendly, kept on telling people not to take their coats off because it was too cold, but to make sure all metallic items were in the tray to go through the scanner. We were soon back on the ship and back having a drink.
We then popped back to the cabin to get ready quickly before meeting again in the Keel and Cow to join a virtual queue for dinner. And whilst we were in there was actually a band playing called Aqua, who are a band from the Netherlands that were on the ship just for the evening, and we really enjoyed this performance. They were doing quite a lot of traditional Irish type of music and some sort of folk songs. The crowd in the atrium area were all getting really involved and really enjoying the music, and it was a really good, fun experience.
Something worth noting is that deck 6 was where the gangway was, and sitting down on deck 6 was absolutely freezing. So we were surprised with how busy it was down there. We were happy we were sat up on deck 8 listening. Because our parents were a little bit later than they said to meet us, by the time we joined the virtual queue, we were actually seated straight away. We got given the notification straight away to say the table was ready.
Tonight we ate our dinner in Aqua. We decided to try out one of the smaller dining rooms because we sort of seemed to struggle to get a table in there with the 8 of us, but we were a slightly smaller group with 6 tonight, so I thought it was a good opportunity to give it a try. It was also noticeably quieter around the ship because we are overnighting in port, so we are assuming lots of other passengers are taking the opportunity to eat a meal on shore.
For my starter tonight, I had something that was new on the P&O menu, to us anyway, and that was tandoori salmon. I really enjoyed it. It was very tasty and very well cooked and marinated. Then for my main, I had beef bourguignon. This came totally different than I expected actually, because I thought it would be a little bit more wetter, a bit more sauce on it. It was okay. I enjoyed the potato, but the beef was a little bit tough. And then for my dessert, I had a blackcurrant sorbet. We were just a bit intrigued to see whether it would taste like Ribena, and it did.
For my starter this evening, I had a bit of a P&O Cruises classic, which was the duck breast, and I enjoyed this as usual. Then for my main, I had sort of a breaded place fillet. It had a fancy name, but it was basically a breadcrumbed place fillet. This was actually really, really tasty and really nicely cooked. The only thing was, could have just done with some kind of a sauce. It was a little bit bland. And then for my dessert, I had a chocolate brownie. We ordered some additional ice cream to have with the chocolate brownie. And if I hadn't have done that, I think this might have been a little bit dry. But because of the extra ice cream, I really enjoyed that dessert too.
Because the ship was quieter, we thought we'd have a better chance of getting a seat up in the crow's nest tonight, and we were right. We headed up there after dinner and sat down and enjoyed listening to Jamie Lee's on the piano.
We then headed down to basically the complete opposite side of the ship to go to the clubhouse where Pulse were performing their 80s set. We again really enjoyed this. The Pulse on board Iona at the moment are really, really good. We all think that they're really talented performers, and they just seem to really enjoy their jobs.
Lots of people actually got up to dance to Pulse, and they got a lot of audience participation. After the Pulse had finished, there was then a disco in the clubhouse. At 12 o'clock, they made an announcement saying that anybody under 18 had to leave, when all the older people in our family then always think they're hilarious and say it's time for us to go. We sat in there for a couple more drinks, just enjoying watching people dancing and enjoying the music.
We then decided that because we hadn't done this yet, this cruise, it would be rude not to head up to the late night buffet. We were pleasantly surprised by the selection in there. It was a lot better than the last time that we were on board Iona, and you could actually get burgers, pizzas, fries, as well as a couple of different curries and a chili. So there were some really good options, and we just both grabbed a little snack before heading to bed.
Today has been another enjoyable day. We enjoyed walking around one of our favourite cities, Rotterdam, and showing it to people that have never been there before, and enjoyed another great night on board the ship. We are probably going to take tomorrow a little bit easier, as we are going to be in Rotterdam again, and we don't need to do all of those steps that we did today.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give this video a like and drop any questions you've got in the comments down below. Please do also make sure that you're subscribed to our channel. You can also find us on social media by searching Sisters on the Seas.